Welcome back to Motoko Bootcamp and welcome to the training phase. You are here to build a DAO, but building a DAO is not something easy, and that's why you need to go through this training phase where you will learn everything you need to know on how to build your DAO. Your training phase starts right here and right now. Before we jump in, I would like to congratulate you. If you are watching this video right now, it means that you've already completed your initiation. If you haven't completed your initiation, you need to pause the video and complete your initiation first. If you have completed your initiation, it means that you have stored your name and your message on the digital legacy scroll. So this will be stored forever, so thank you for being among the first Web3 developers and Web3 pioneers. I hope you will remember that in a few years, and congratulations again. Now, let's see what the training is about. So the training is about three important and very complex topics. The first one is Motoko, the internet computer, and then DAOs. Now, you could read and learn about those topics separately. Actually, that's what I've done. You could go and read the whole documentation for Motoko, the whole documentation for ICP, and you could watch videos and read articles on DAOs. And that would get you somewhere, but it would be very slow and very hard process. If you want to get efficient, and I want you to be efficient, that's why I've created this training, the best way is to learn about those topics at the same time. In this training, you will learn about ICP, Motoko, and DAOs at the same time, because those topics are combined. And so you will build a DAO, that's your end goal. You will write your code in Motoko, and you will build on the internet computer the platform. Now, how is exactly the training structured? The training should take you 5 days, and for each day, you have a project. So 5 days and 5 projects. You will notice that the projects are actually smaller components of a DAO. So for example, one project is a token, one other project is a voting system, another project is a member database, and all those projects combined together, they will help you to build a real DAO. Okay, so we are on the repository, and so you will notice that there is a huge README file that you can see here. You have all the resource and all the explanations on how to get started with the repository and how to use it, all the links to the project and the daily guides and so on. If you want to get started with this repository, there are two ways. The first one is the one that is the easiest and the fastest. It's to use something called Gitpod, which is actually an online cloud-based development environment. So I've already set up everything for you, DFX and all the extensions that you need from Motoko. So you can just click here. If you have a GitHub account, that's the only thing you need. It will load an environment and you can work from that environment. The second way is to work locally, so you need to clone the repository and you need to make sure that you have all the tools installed locally on your machine. Actually, I've made a video about how to set up those tools, so I'll provide the link in the description. For this video, I'll go with the option number 1, which is to use Gitpod and the online environment. So I'll just click here and it will open this page. So I'm already logged in with my GitHub account. If you don't have a GitHub account, you can create one in a few minutes. It's very fast and very easy. And then, so this is the repository that we are opening. We are using VS Code, so you can select a few environments. I really like VS Code. I think it's the best in the list. And then you need to select your machine, so the hardware that you want to run on. So this is actually something remotely that you don't have access to. You don't need to go for the large. You need to go with the standard because you are on the free plan. So you have up to 60 hours for free with the standard. So just continue with standard and click on continue. The first time you open your workspace, it might take around 2 to 3 minutes and then it will be much faster. Okay, so we are already in the workspace. And as you can see, we have a few installations going on automatically. So it's actually installing DFX and making sure everything is set up for us. So we just need to wait for that to be completed and then we can get started. Okay, so as you can see, I'm zooming a bit and we can verify that DFX has been correctly installed. We can run DFX version and you should see DFX.0.15.2. Now, how is the repository structured? So the repository is structured in a very simple manner. You have the days, which corresponds to the 5 days I've talked about. And for each day, you have a project and a README. So you can open the README. You can click here to actually see it with this format. So if you see it with the README, the Markdown format, it's a little less enjoyable to read. So you can open the preview and then you have everything that you need to know about this day. So there is an introduction about what this first day is about and what are the lectures that you can use and watch for this specific day. all the resources, so all the links to the chapter, and also external resources like the ICP documentation that you can use. All the resources are tailored specifically for this day, so every time you have a specific project, and every time the resources are actually very selected for that project. And then there is a list of concepts, so those are all the concepts that you will see on the first day. This is actually very useful to review that at the end of each day. You go through this list and you think, and you read, and then you just, okay, so this one, I know what is a canister, I know what cycles are, I know what update and query functions are. If everything seems very clear to you, then that means you have probably reached the end of the day. Then you have a Motoko pill every day, so it's a little fact about Motoko, so you can learn a few things about the ecosystem and the history of the Motoko language. And for every day, you also have a meme, which is a meme created by previous Motoko Bootcamp students. So that's it for the README, and then you have a project, and for the project, you have a project instructions. So same thing, you can also open the preview. It explains why you need to build this project, what is your mission, and then there is a list of tasks that you need to do to complete the project. And you will also find 1 or 2 or sometimes 3 Motoko files. Those are actually the beginning of the project, so it's not the whole and complete code, but it's actually just a starter, so you can go and start building the project 1. So that's project 1. You have project 2, project 3, project 4, and project 5. And that's essentially the same structure. Then you also have this lesson folder, which contains all the chapters. So those chapters will be accessible from the days. Every day you have a few chapters to read, but essentially it's about the Motoko language and also the ICP ecosystem. So you also have a few external resources, but most of the information that you need are inside those chapters, and there are a lot of images and things that you need to check and read. Then you have the tests folder, but you don't need to really care about that. And for the rest, you have the dfx.json, which contains all the projects already set up for you. So we have all the canisters that you will need to deploy at some point. And the rest is just configuration for Gitpod, Git, and the README, and so on. Okay, so now we are going to see how we can deploy and submit our canisters on the Motoko Bootcamp dashboard. The first thing to understand is that there are 3 ways to deploy canisters. I won't go into details today and show you all the ways, but essentially you need to understand that you can deploy locally, on the playground, or on the internet computer. Locally would be you run a replica, so a copy of the internet computer, by doing dfx start, and then you can deploy canisters there. It's very easy for testing and all sorts of purposes. The only problem is that it only exists on your machine, and so you cannot share that with the outside world. So that wouldn't be practical if we want to submit projects on the dashboard. The second way would be to use the playground. So the playground is actually part of the internet computer. It's a part of the mainnet, of the main network. It's just a specific place where you can deploy for free because you don't need to pay for it. But there are a few limitations. You cannot, for example, transfer cycles between canisters. And all canisters deployed on the playground are deleted after 20 minutes. So actually for the training, I strongly recommend, and that's what I'm going to do in the videos, that you deploy on the playground. 20 minutes is more than enough to submit your project on the dashboard, so you shouldn't have any issue with that. And the last way we could also use it and submit on the dashboard would be to deploy on the internet computer. You could totally do that. The only thing is that you would need to pay for it. Deploying a canister is around $1. You need to get cycles, and you can get cycles by burning ICPs. So you can do dfx deploy network IC, and you would deploy on the internet computer. You also need to make sure that you have identity with a cycle wallet that is set up. And I really advise you to not do that on the Gitpod environment, because if you lose your workspace, so if you close the workspace and delete it, you will never be able to access your identity again. So if you've paid for ICP, or if you're paid for cycles, then you will lose all your ICP, all your cycles, and also you will lose access to your canisters. So definitely for the whole training, the best way is to use the playground. To deploy on the playground, it's very easy. Basically, what you need to do is that whenever you want to deploy your project, you just need the name of the project. And so you can find that in dfx.json. The name is here, so project 1, project 2, project 3, and so on. And you go to main.mo and you just run this simple command dfx deploy. hyphen hyphen. So this is actually a flag. So you can say flag playground. And then the name of the project. So project 1. This will create an identity if it's the first time you're doing it. And then you will see this message, reserving canisters in playground. It will give you an ID. And then build your code and then deploy the canister. Okay, so my canister has been deployed. What is actually great about that is that you can totally copy this link and access it from anywhere. So even I would be able to access your canister, even if it's something that you've just deployed, I can access it. And so you can interact with it from the Candid UI. Essentially, once you have deployed your canister and you have completed the task, so right now, of course, nothing has been done, that wouldn't work. But let's assume that you've finished the project 1. Then you get this ID. So the canister ID is here. And you have essentially 20 minutes to go on the Motoko Bootcamp dashboard, so motokobootcamp.com. Then you log in with your identity and you go to the submit section, which would be here. Then you go to the training and you select your project. So I have already completed this project, but you should see a space to input your canister ID. You paste your canister ID, then you click on submit. And then within 10 to 20 seconds, you will receive an answer. If your canister is correct, you can move to the next level. If your canister is incorrect, it will usually show you an error message and explain what is the problem and how you can fix it. So that's it for the training. Essentially, each day you need to focus on one project and complete one specific project. I will make a dedicated video for each project, and I will also make a correction for the project at some point. I strongly advise that you don't watch the correction, except if you are stuck, of course, after some point. But the goal with the training is not to challenge you. The goal with the training is that you challenge yourself. So you have to be smart enough and determined enough to not watch the correction and do the project yourself, because this is how you're going to learn the best. All right, good luck. I see you in the next video.